started, man.
You know, honestly, I don't think anybody gives a fuck.
So, in the absence of compromise, how do we resolve a situation of this nature?
What's he doing on my radio, man?
Anyone?
Man, what the fuck? That's my goddamn radio!
That's right.
No, I think I should have left it your monkey ass. I'm gonna cut you real good.
We can discuss hand-to-hand combat if you prefer. Always carry a weapon. Always keep the weapon as far from the body as possible. Now, Mace, you lost the radio, but you learned a lesson. That lesson could save your life someday.
The movie starts with two cars tearing down a city street in a wild chase, one hunting the other. The target is a woman, and the people after her mean serious business. She finally pulls over, and within seconds, masked men are surrounding her car with guns drawn, screaming at her to get out. They smash her window and nearly drag her out of the seat. A well-dressed man walking by decides he has seen enough. He steps in and tells them to back off. Cool, calm, like he has done this kind of thing before. The men freeze. One of them actually recognizes him and says his name out loud, Carl Thompson. Randall doesn't seem to know these guys, but he tries to keep things from falling apart. That's when the woman makes a run for it. One of the men shoots her in the leg, and without thinking twice, Randall jumps in to shield her. The guns turn on him. He goes down, the group is shaken because things spiraled way out of control way too fast. One guy panics, but the shooter fires again, this time making sure Randall won't get back up. As they go through his pockets, they find something that stops them cold, a police badge. They take it and disappear into the night. From across the street, a store owner saw every single second of it. He picks up the phone and calls the police. Days later, Randall is being laid to rest. He was more than just a cop. He had a military background and years of experience as a mercenary, and people genuinely respected him. His daughter Anna stands at the funeral alongside her teacher Kara, both of them carrying the weight of the loss. Then, just when the grief feels heaviest, someone unexpected walks through the door. Randall's brother Carl. Anna didn't see that coming. With no other family left, seeing Carl show up brings her a rare moment of comfort. She introduces him to Kara, who welcomes him warmly, and just like that, it becomes clear Carl isn't here for a quick visit. Walking home with Anna, Carl starts getting a feel for the neighborhood, and it doesn't paint a pretty picture. Anna tells him the area is rough, that gangs run the streets, and that her dad never backed down from any of it. She explains that Randall wasn't even doing anything risky that day. He was just out shopping when he stumbled right into that robbery. Then, with quiet anger in her voice, she tells Carl something that clearly stings. Randall always wanted him to visit, and he never came. She looks at him and asks if he's just going to leave again. Carl looks her in the eye and promises he's staying this time. Not long after Carl is near the school, when he spots a group of boys harassing a woman on the street, he steps in to check on her, but she hurries away without a word. The boys then turn their attention to Carl, following him, throwing insults, trying to get under his skin. Carl doesn't flinch. A police car rolls by and they scatter, but the second it's gone, they come right back and open fire. Carl moves fast, dodges the shots, and the group speeds off. He keeps moving like it was nothing. That evening, Carl meets up with an old friend named Joey, someone who goes way back with him. Joey used to work alongside a man named Shale, a former substitute teacher, now living in New York. Carl tells Joey what he needs, help finding the person who killed his brother, and whether the local gang had anything to do with it. Joey agrees before Carl even finishes the sentence. No money needed, just old loyalty between two partners. That night, the two meet at a bar to map things out. Joey comes with information. The store owner who witnessed the murder isn't talking, almost certainly scared into silence, but he did see the shooter clearly. And here's the detail that changes everything. The killer is a student, a high schooler. He runs with a gang called the Brotherhood, a crew that wears their hoodies backward with holes cut out for the eyes. The store owner swore on it. Joey says they need to move fast before that witness disappears for good. The next morning, Carl pays Kara a visit and brings her something to drink. She's glad to see him. He gets straight to the point and asks who is going to fill Randall's old teaching position. Kara tells him the school is looking for a substitute specifically for the most difficult and violent class on campus. Carl says he wants the job. He has spent his whole career training people in combat and self-defense, so surely he can handle a classroom. Kara isn't fully convinced, but she tells him to get certified and she'll back his application. The following day, Anna heads back to school for the first time since losing her father. It's a heavy walk through those doors, but she finds comfort reuniting with her best friend Danny. Meanwhile, Carl arrives at the school for a completely different reason. He's looking for the registrar's office and runs into a mechanic teacher named Warren Drummond, who offers to show him around. As they walk, Warren casually asks if Carl is the new sub for the troubled class, and something about the way he says it feels less like a question and more like a warning dressed up as small talk. A student named Danny passes them in the hallway and waves at Warren, and there's something slightly off about it, though Carl can't quite put his finger on it yet. When Carl finally finally finds the special section of the school, the students don't look much like students at all. They look like gang members who wandered into the wrong building. After picking up his classroom pass, Carl heads to his room and immediately gets lost. A janitor points him in the right direction when he finally walks through the classroom door. He is greeted by complete chaos. Music blasting, students dancing, soda cans everywhere, people flirting in the back corner, and not a single book open anywhere. He tries to introduce himself and nobody cares. He asks a student to turn the music down and gets told it's his favorite song. A student named Dante steps in and tells the others to lower it, which they do, but not without attitude. Carl spots a kid drinking soda and jokingly asks if he brought enough for everyone. The kid fires back, and the whole room laughs. Carl doesn't miss a beat and says he must have left his cooler at home. He moves through the room and notices a boy with a broken arm. He asks what happened, and the boy says basketball. Dante jokes that teaching this class is just as rough. Carl replies without blinking, not if the lesson plan is strong enough. Then he pulls out a yo-yo. The room goes quiet out of pure confusion. He asks if anyone knows what it is, then tells them that 400 years ago in the Philippines, it wasn't a toy at all. It was a weapon. Before anyone can roll their eyes, he hurls it across the room and blows up a soda bottle sitting on a desk. Dead silence. He tells them not to judge things or people by how they look, and also that if someone brings soda next time, they better bring enough for the whole class. Several students exchange glances, already deciding they're going to test this man. At lunch, a few of them mock him from a distance, not knowing that Joey is sitting nearby, quietly recording the whole thing. Back in the staff room, Carl meets the other teachers, who are tired, burnt out, and barely hiding it. One of them jokes about how Carl is surviving what they call hell. Carl says the kids act tough, but he's not sure they actually are. Another teacher cuts in and reminds him that Randall thought the same thing and points out where that got him. Warren walks in and breaks the tension, asking why anyone would give up on students if fish can naturally learn to swim. Another teacher fires back that maybe that's exactly why all his students are drowning. Warren brushes it off and invites Carl for a walk. As they stroll, Warren casually questions why Carl chose the most dangerous class in the school, making it sound like friendly advice but feeling more like a nudge toward the exit. Kara catches up to them and playfully pretends she hasn't met Carl yet, asking Warren to introduce them. It lightens the mood. Somewhere else on campus, Anna runs into Dennis, who's sitting behind the wheel of a shiny Mustang. She notices it immediately and asks how he could possibly afford something like that. He dodges the question and offers her a ride instead, cross the street at the same time. Carl and Joey are tailing a group of students they believe belong to the Brotherhood. The trail leads them straight to an abandoned factory. They slip inside undetected, and what they find is deeply disturbing. The store owner, the only eyewitness to Randall's murder, is hanging by his arms in the middle of the room being beaten, while the gang leader screams at him for telling the police that students were behind the killing. The man is sobbing, barely holding together, saying he already made the call. The gang hits him again, then Joey walks in, no visible weapon, completely calm. He tells them to let the man go or face the consequences. To prove they mean it, Carl fires from a hidden position and puts bullets into the legs of 2 gang members. Joey levels his gun at the leader and makes it plain. The next shot goes through his chest. The room freezes. The leader blinks, then unties the man. Joey helps the store owner toward the exit and tells everyone in the room not to move until the red laser dots on their chests disappear. The gang stands perfectly still as Joey walks the man out. Back at home that evening, Anna has snuck Dennis into her room. Things between them feel easy and warm. They clearly like each other. But when Dennis pushes further than Anna is comfortable with, she deflects with a joke instead of saying it directly. Then Carl shows up. Anna panics, gets Dennis out before he's spotted, and heads downstairs to greet her uncle. Carl makes a lighthearted comment about teaching yo-yo history at school, and she laughs. That same night, a few students from the troubled class are out doing what the streets taught them. Mace, the boy with the radio, slips out of a friend's car, breaks into another vehicle, and drives off, smooth as silk after the alarm gets killed before anyone notices. Joey watches from the shadows, already 3 steps ahead. Meanwhile, Carl is spending the evening with Kara over drinks, slowly building some trust between them. She asks about his past, and he opens up a little, telling her that Randall wasn't just his brother but also his partner, a fellow mercenary. When she asks why he became a teacher now, he says simply that Randall inspired him to try making a difference in a different kind of way. Then his phone rings. It's Joey. The bait car worked. Dante and Mace took it, and Joey wants Carl to come see where it ended up. Carl thanks Kara and heads out, and she clearly wishes he would stay but says nothing. When Carl meets Joey, his friend shows him where the stolen car was taken and advises patience, saying tomorrow will matter even more. Then Joey plays him a recording gang members, talking about their plan to take Carl out at school. Carl listens and his expression doesn't change much, but something shifts behind his eyes. The next day, Carl walks into school like he heard absolutely nothing. Dante greets him with a smirk, calling him the man with the lesson plans. Carl just smiles and starts class a few minutes in. A student with a broken arm says he feels sick and asks to use the bathroom. Carl lets him go, but the boy doesn't doesn't go anywhere near the bathroom. He slips around to the back of the school and lets gang members in through a side door. Back in the classroom, Mace has his radio going at full blast and isn't listening to a single word Carl says. After several warnings get ignored, Carl decides to make a point. He tells the class that when two sides refuse to budge, nothing moves forward. That's called a deadlock, a problem with no solution unless someone is willing to compromise. And since Mace clearly isn't going to, Carl walks calmly to the window and throws the radio out. The room goes completely silent. Mace explodes. He pulls out a knife and starts showing off what he can do with it. All flash and aggression meant to intimidate. Carl watches. Then in one smooth motion, he disarms him and takes the knife. He tells the class quietly that he's not here to embarrass anyone. He just needs them to understand who's running this room, and that he genuinely wants to help them. Then he notices the student with the broken arm still hasn't come back, so he excuses himself to check. In the boys' bathroom, Carl calls out and gets nothing. He starts looking around, and that's when gang members step out from behind the stalls. But Carl was ready for this because Joey warned him. He moves through the bathroom like he rehearsed it the night before, taking them down one by one using every bit of his training. Back in the classroom, the student with the broken arm comes rushing and breathless, telling everyone that Carl is probably getting destroyed right now. Mace doesn't react. He just sits there with what Carl said still turning over in his head. In the bathroom, the last man goes down. Carl pins him to the floor and looks him dead in the eye, asking if he's the one who killed Randall Thompson. He doesn't get a clean answer, but the question is out there. Now, Carl straightens his tie, puts his watch back on. That's when the janitor appears, the same one who gave him directions on his first day. He looks at Carl with completely different eyes. Now he says he has never seen a teacher move like that and tells Carl those are Green Beret techniques. He knows because he served 1st Battalion 1971 and 1972. His name is Jonathan Barty. Jonathan tells Carl the men who attacked him were almost certainly not real students, and that someone must have let them in. He offers to handle the cleanup and asks Carl to meet him in the basement later that evening. Carl nods and heads back to class like nothing happened. When Carl walks back in, Kishan, the student who let the gang inside, is holding court, playing up the story like he's the center of the universe. Carl checks if he's okay. The rest of the class gives Kishan skeptical looks because he lied to get out, and everybody knows it. Carl clears his throat and tells them he believes they were discussing force versus compromise. After class, Carl asks Mace to stay back. He asks if the radio was expensive. Mace says just a little. Carl tells him he genuinely believes Mace has what it takes to turn things around. Mace doesn't want to hear it and gets angry, telling Carl he has no idea what his life looks like. His dad is locked up, his brother is dead, and his mom is gone. The brotherhood is all he has left. Carl listens without interrupting, then tells him quietly, and without preaching, that he still has the power to choose. Mace tosses the yo-yo Carl gave him back onto the desk and walks out. Later, Kishan drags his friends to the bathroom to show them proof of the fight. But the room has already been cleaned, not a single trace left. His friends don't believe him, and Kishan is left standing there in stunned silence. That evening, Carl heads down to the basement to meet Jonathan. What he finds there surprises him. Jonathan has built himself a small private space filled with military memorabilia and mementos from his years of service. Carl is genuinely moved by it. Jonathan mentions that he has been hearing strange things at night, people coming and going through the school when they have absolutely no business being there, and every time he checks, nobody's around. Carl suggests they look into it together with Joey's help. The next day, things take a darker turn for Anna. She's walking home when Brotherhood members step out and block her path. The message is simple and brutal. Tell Carl to stop digging or things will get much worse. They walk away and leave her standing alone in the street. She tells Carl everything. He tells her to stay home and off the streets for the next few days. She doesn't love the idea, but she agrees. That night, Carl, Joey, and Jonathan move quietly through the school. Jonathan knows the building better than anyone and leads them through a hidden passage toward the garage. Carl goes ahead to check on the strange noises, and what he finds stops him cold. Warren is inside with students, working on cars in the middle of the night. It's a chop shop running right inside the school. Carl comes back and lays it out for the others. Warren is stripping 3 or 4 stolen cars every single week and selling the parts below market price, pulling in over $100,000 a month. Right around the same time, Warren gets a call from Dante. There was a police chase. One of their stolen cars was recovered, and Mace, the angry kid with the radio, the one who was just starting to think twice about his life, is dead. Warren hears the news and doesn't react. Not even a flicker of emotion crosses his face. The next morning, Carl walks into class to find his students grieving, all except Dante, who sits apart from everyone, completely unmoved. Carl tries to address it. He says, "School is not a battlefield, and no student should be dying out there." Dante looks straight at him and says, "The real world is a battlefield, and people like him have been fighting for everything since day one because nobody handed them anything. The police killed Mace," he says, "not him." Carl suspects Dante had something to do with Randall's death, though Dante has no idea Carl even knows about that yet. After school, Carl visits Kara and asks what Warren is really like when nobody is watching. Kara tells him Warren is well liked at school but cold and controlling once you get past the surface. He tried to date her once and she turned him down, and he didn't take it well at all. The next day during the school break, Carl quietly asks Kara to dig into Warren's background and past employment. While they talk, Warren watches them from a distance. That evening, Carl is at home with Joey when Kara calls. She found something online, something significant, and wants them to come over right away. They head out, reminding Anna not to open the door for anyone. But shortly after Carl and Joey leave, someone knocks at Kara's door. She opens it to find Warren standing there holding food, acting like it's the most natural thing in the world, saying he was just passing through the neighborhood. Kara doesn't feel safe. She quietly hides the file she was about to hand Carl. Warren keeps talking, friendly on the surface but calculating underneath, asking questions about Carl and fishing for information. At the same time, Anna has quietly slipped out of the house to visit Danny. He welcomes her in and they hang out in his room. Things feel easy at first until they don't. Danny moves too fast and makes Anna uncomfortable. When he steps into the bathroom, she looks around the room and finds something that makes her stomach drop. Her father's police badge is sitting right there in Danny's drawer. She keeps looking, and in his closet she finds the Brotherhood gang outfit. She starts getting dressed to leave, but Danny comes back in and finds her standing there holding the badge. She asks him point blank if he killed her father. Danny tries to justify it, saying Randall was interfering with the Brotherhood's money and had to be dealt with. The argument heats up fast, and Danny grabs a knife. Anna knows karate. She kicks him hard, shatters a glass over his head, and runs before he can grab her again. Back at Kara's place, Warren drops the act entirely. He throws Kara across the room and hits her again and again, demanding to know what Carl is really doing at the school and what she has told him. Kara finally breaks and gives him the truth. Carl is Randall's brother. Then he pulls out a gun and shoots her. Just like that, Kara is gone. Warren steps outside and tells his men to take Carl out and ignore any other orders. As he walks away from the building, he spots Carl and Joey pulling up. He steps back into the shadows and waits. They go inside without seeing him. Carl finds Kara, and the devastation on his face says everything. He also finds the file she was protecting with Warren's name at the top, former United States Marine Corps, honorably discharged but under special circumstances, suspected of running illegal operations in Honduras back in 1986. He denied everything, was cleared, and received honors the following year. At home, Anna tells Carl what she found at Danny's place. Danny admitted he pulled the trigger on Randall, not because he truly wanted to, but to prove his worth to Warren and show the Brotherhood he was serious. Carl goes quiet, then he gets up, grabs his weapon, and walks out. Joey is already waiting outside. As they drive toward the school, Joey tells him he counted 2 full cars of gang members already heading there. The Brotherhood arrives, and Carl, Joey, and Jonathan are already inside. And the moment the gang steps in, the gunfight starts. The school becomes a war zone. Hallways fill with gunfire and gang members go down one after another. But Carl's team stays on their feet. They push through a door and seal it behind them. Joey has been hit, a bullet in his side. He tells Carl they're trapped. Carl looks around, spots a gas tank nearby, and his mind goes to work. He positions it near the door, and when the gang shoots through it, the tank erupts and blasts them back down the hallway, buying just enough time to move. Jonathan guides them through a tunnel to a hidden room where he keeps weapons from his military days. They reload, catch their breath, and go back in. The gang keeps coming, but they're losing people fast now. Jonathan throws smoke bombs into the hallway, and through the haze, the gang leader appears. When the smoke clears, Carl gets hold of him, and in the chaos, the gang accidentally shoots their own boss. In a quieter corner of the building, Carl kneels next to the wounded leader. The man admits it all. Warren Drummond is behind everything. Every single piece of it. Carl stands up and heads straight to Warren's classroom. He walks in mid-class and confronts Warren in front of everyone. He tells him to admit what he did to Kara and mentions the file she left behind. The final note that exposes the truth about him. Warren goes pale. Then he tries to flip the script, telling the students about Carl's past as a mercenary to discredit him in front of the class. Then he reaches for a suitcase. Carl gets there first. The fight that follows is unlike anything those students have ever seen. Both men are trained, and both men are dangerous. Warren grabs a fire emitter, and Carl knocks it away after a brutal exchange. Warren keeps coming. Carl grabs a light bulb and drives it into Warren's eye. Warren still doesn't stop. The students watch in stunned silence, unsure who to root for. Carl slams Warren to the ground over and over. Upstairs, Anna sees what's happening and races down. The fight keeps going. Then Warren finds a screwdriver and drives it deep into Carl's arm. Carl gasps and stumbles. The students hold their breath. Then Carl gets back up. He drives Warren into the ground. One final time and it's over. Warren doesn't get back up. The room is completely silent. Nobody mourns him. Not a single face in that room looks sad. After a long, heavy pause, Anna and Joey move in close to Carl, grateful, relieved, holding it together the way people do when something terrible is finally finished. Jonathan gives a slow clap and tells the students it's time to head back to class because the show is over. As everyone starts to move, Dante does something nobody expected. He walks up to Carl, looks him over and says, with something almost like genuine warmth, that he looks like he could use a doctor and probably a vacation. Carl almost smiles. Sometime later, Carl and Anna stand together at Randall's grave. They set down flowers, and Anna places the police badge beside them. She tells Carl she's keeping the house and asks him to stay. Carl looks at her and tells her how proud he is. Then he says he has to go. They hold each other for a long, quiet moment, and the movie ends.